Do you ever feel overwhelmed by the ever-changing world of technology? Tech It Out can help make some sense of it all. Breaking down geek speak into street speak, technology columnist, author, and TV personality Mark Saltzman covers consumer technology each week for every listener. Mark tackles the latest news, reviews, and how-tos to help you understand what's hot, what's not, and why.
Hey everyone, welcome to Tech It Out. This is episode 382. Hope everyone's doing great out there in radio land or in podcast land. However, you're tuning into this weekly show that doesn't just celebrate technology, how it can enhance and enrich your life, but my goal is to help demystify technology as well. Or as the announcer says, I aim to break down geek speak into street speak each and every week. All right, so for this last Tech It Out show for February, we have three great guests lined up for you. We're going to kick things off with Twitch, the incredibly popular video streaming platform, which just partnered with NASA to broadcast a 2-hour chat from the ISS, from the International Space Station. How cool is that? Then, after that interview, for something we can use back down here on Earth, we'll hear all about the Buddy app. It's a different take on social media that puts a greater emphasis on in-person experiences with your friends and family and less screen time, which I think is great. And so we'll have the CEO and co-founder of the Buddy app on this show shortly. Also on Tech It Out this hour, a little bit later in the program, we're going to learn about ChargeFuze for when you need to charge up your smartphone when you're out somewhere, like a concert, a hockey game, a casino. And so these are smart kiosks that let you easily rent a portable power bank, which you can return or not. And so we'll hear how it all works when we have ChargeFuze on Tech It Out later on. All of this and more on an all-new episode of Tech It Out. All right, let's kick things off. While you might think Twitch is just for gamers who live stream their interactive adventures for others to watch, there's a lot more to the platform. In fact, NASA conducted a first-of-its-kind Twitch stream this past week from, get this, the International Space Station. Joining us on the line to tell us all about it is Rachel Delphin, Chief Marketing Officer at Twitch. Hi, Rachel. Good to chat with you. Thanks for being on the program.
Hi, Mark. It's great to be with you.
Thank you. So, hey, before we talk about this first ever out of this world Twitch event, sorry, dad joke, please give us a quick Twitch 101, if you will, for those who maybe haven't spent any time on the platform or they've heard about Twitch, maybe their kids use it, but they're not exactly sure what it is.
Twitch is the leading live streaming service. It enables anyone, anywhere, truly, to stream what they love live. We have over 21 million active creators on the service, and unlike places where content is pre-recorded and edited, Twitch's live and interactive format means there's an immediate viewer engagement through real-time chat, so viewers can respond to the action or whatever is unfolding right as it happens. And the creator gets that immediate response or feedback right away.
I know you said there's 21 million creators, but you don't have to stream yourself. Does that 21 million also include those who watch somebody else's stream and comments or not?
No, we see about 105 million.
Okay. Significant numbers.
Yes.
Thanks for the clarification. Yeah, that's really impressive. Becoming a household word now. I remember when Twitch launched, so this is great. Please now tell us about your exciting work with NASA.
Yeah, for the first time, NASA hosted a live Twitch event from space with astronaut Don Pettit aboard the International Space Station. So they've done spacewalks in the past and sort of launches, but this was the first time they've actually done a live stream from space. It lasted just under 2 hours. There were over 75,000 unique visitors, so roughly the same number of people who were in the Caesars Stadium at the Super Bowl. And it peaked around 16,000 live viewers. The people who joined the chat had the opportunity to actually ask live questions and hear from the NASA astronauts about life in orbit, from the mundane, like how do you have hot coffee, to, more scientific, like what's the value of, certain scientific backgrounds in space.
Okay, got it. I was going to ask you what the chat was about. Obviously, with a 2-hour discussion, there's a lot covered. So live from 250 miles above the Earth at the ISS, we've got this astronaut, Don Pettit, fielding questions from interested participants on the Twitch platform. Was it a single camera view and people would text in their questions? Was it static? Was the astronaut able to move the camera around or at least show what the view would be like, for example, from his vantage point?
He did end up taking taking the camera off of some, its stand at one point. Yeah.
Like a mount. It would float. Otherwise, yeah, you got to need
That's right. He could hold the camera and show his camera. So one of the questions, the early questions of the chat was actually about astral photography. Don Pettit shares a lot of his imagery and a lot of the pictures he takes from space, which it turns out is very difficult to do because you're moving really, really quickly in orbit, something I learned, but maybe should have known. And also, like, it switches very quickly from day to night, which they talked about also in the stream. And so the settings you have to have on your camera, are pretty finite in order to actually capture imagery where it isn't a blurry blob of light. And so they talked about that in the chat. There was a really cute moment where a third grade class asked what it was like to return to Earth after you're spending weeks and months in space. And it turns out it's not very good. They did share, details of what it's like to return to Earth after lots of space. Takes the body sometimes to adjust. They did attempt a physics demonstration with a yo-yo and even talked about, how to enjoy hot coffee and those kinds of things. So, really fun to see chat take an interest. What's life like on the station, and also, the life of an astronaut generally.
Yeah, that's awesome. I once had the privilege of giving a keynote speech after Commander Chris Hadfield, the famous astronaut. I mean, he's a tough act to follow. So that aside, and he pulls out his guitar, of course, so that was hard to follow him. Nonetheless, I recall his stories about it being tough to come back to Earth and what the body goes through. Incidentally, and totally off topic, I did one of those vomit comet planes where you get to experience zero gravity. Pretty wild, 15 times. It's like a modified 747 above the Nevada desert. All the seats are pulled out, it's all padded, and it performs a move called the parabola, where a specially trained pilot can angle the plane down somewhat, and you're weightless for like 25 seconds, like an astronaut would be. And then when the plane is pulled up, you're then stuck to the ground, like the G-force is incredibly hard. Like you can't even move your arm up. Then it goes back down again, and it's that constant, up and down. That's really hard on the body as well. But that was pretty exciting. And without getting too technical here, Rachel, how does the internet work on the ISS? I guess they're using satellites in some way, shape, or form. Like, how did they have internet connection?
Yeah, it was really just a conversation between folks on Earth at NASA's Johnson Space Center and astronaut Don Pettit aboard the International Space Station. So switching their regular broadcast that goes directly to NASA's Twitch channel as their broadcast destination, which we're told was a very simple technical setup.
And then the kids and everybody else engaged on Twitch were connected to the ground station. Yeah.
Yeah, just as normal, any viewers were going through Twitch and interacting through chat as they normally would.
Awesome. Was there a delay?
No, very little delay. And any limitations would be on the viewer's end. So would be limited by the broadcast destination. So, depending on your Wi-Fi or your cellular connection, not limited by whatever's happening in space.
Wow, crazy. We are chatting with Rachel Delphin, Chief Marketing Officer at Twitch. We're learning about this first of its kind partnership with NASA. Well, to be fair, you've partnered with NASA in the past, but this is the first time that you've broadcasted live from the International Space Station with astronaut Don Pettit, who fielded questions for almost 2 hours. Just out of curiosity, was this a campaign that Twitch proposed to NASA, or was it the other way around?
Well, they've streamed content like launches and spacewalks, but this is the first time they brought Twitch chat directly to the astronaut on board. But it was, I think NASA's idea, and they have come to TwitchCon before as well. And I think just saw that there's so much interest, right, from the Twitch community. And so we were very happy to support their idea, but it was, all credit due to the NASA team.
Was there a goal to this chat? Was it like a technical challenge? They want to see if they can do this from space, or did they want to engage with Twitch users in a fresh new way?
I think it was really just about getting, people interested in asking questions about space and what's happening, and sharing some of the sort of day-to-day details of the astronauts and reaching some new audiences, right? Younger audiences, and the mediums that they prefer and where they hang out.
Yeah. And then as we wrap up, you mentioned Twitch is primarily a live platform. That's what separates it from, say, the likes of YouTube and other pre-recorded video platforms. But is this chat with astronaut Don Pettit archived on Twitch? So I'm sure a lot of listeners, even though they missed the date, what was this, February 12th you did it, that they would love to see this now. Is that possible?
Yes, you can go to twitch.tv/NASA and check out the video on demand from the live stream. There are also lots of exclusive clips from the content, and then they have a whole archive of content from past broadcasts that they've done.
All right, great. Twitch.tv/NASA, NASA, and you can see this chat with Don Pettit. Very exciting. Rachel, thank you so much for your time. This is really cool, and I hope that this is one of many more to come. So thanks again for sharing the news with us.
Thanks so much for having me. I hope to see you in chat.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to Tech It Out. I'm your host, Mark Saltzman. We have a lot more to get to this hour. After a short break in about a minute, we're going to chat with Buddy. Yeah, it's a social media app, but it's very different than the likes of X and Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and others. So we're going to hear about Buddy. First available for iPhone only, but an Android version is in the works. And then speaking of smartphones, after that, we're going to catch up with a company called ChargeFuze that lets you rent a power bank. You know, those little batteries, those backup batteries that you can plug your smartphone into to charge up when you're out somewhere, so you don't have to plug it into a wall. We're going to chat with the ChargeFuze folks to hear what's new from them, where you can pick them up, how much it costs, what happens if you don't return it. It's fine. So we're going to get to all of that as well. And I'll plug my social media handles to ask what you think of this idea or if you've used ChargeFuze. And hey, next week on the show, I'm excited to go to New York to visit Amazon in a couple of days. And then after that, heading off to Barcelona in Spain for Mobile World Congress. So I look forward to conducting a bunch of interviews for Tech It Out when I'm there. Excited to share all that with you in upcoming episodes. So hang tight, stick with us. We'll be right back with a lot more Tech It Out after this short break.
Listen to Tech It Out whenever you want. Find the Tech It Out podcast at iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back to Tech It Out. We cover cybersecurity a lot on this program and how you can best protect yourself in the digital age, even if you're not super tech savvy. One part of the solution is securely shopping online. And so I'm thrilled about my partnership with Visa on Tech It Out, as they've made some significant investments in fraud prevention over the past 5 years, as much as $10 billion. Yes, that's billion with a B, to support Visa's brand promise to protect the financial information of individuals and businesses. Zero liability means peace of mind when you shop online using your Visa card. There can be no half measures when it comes to cybersecurity, which is why the company takes an aggressive and multi-layered approach to combating the rising threat of malicious software and other threats by well-funded and global criminal enterprises. Read more about Visa and how securing the world's payments is priority one at visa.com/security. That's visa.com/security. Not all social media apps are created equal. What if one put an emphasis on the social part, as in real life, more meaningful in-person experiences with friends, yet still using your devices to stay connected? How would that work? What would that look like? Well, joining us on the line to tell us all about the Buddy app is its CEO and co-founder, Claire Wright. Thanks for your time, Claire. Good to chat with you.
Hi, Mark. Thanks for having me on.
Why don't we dive right in? Tell us about Buddy and how it differs from other social media apps out there.
So Buddy is the first ever social utility app. And what that means is that it really is something that's of use and does make your life better. We are the first non-toxic app that encourages people to get off their phones and out in the real world. And as a bonus, our app works offline and online.
All right. So the techie in me wants to ask you about it working offline, but we'll get to that in due time. A non-toxic app is very appealing, I'm sure, to many of our listeners, those who have kids or grandkids who are always on their devices. So with that being said, the expression is that good technology solves a problem. Is it true there are technologies like social media apps that can be causing more harm than good?
Yeah, and it's funny you say that because that's how Buddy was created. I wanted to solve a problem and I knew that tech was going to be the answer. Tech, yes, can be used in negative ways because as companies get forced when they scale to make returns and make the business work, that sometimes deviates us from our original mission, i.e. making the app addictive because our business is based on screen time. We don't want to and haven't compromised our mission. We started building the technology solution and we we actually built the product afterwards. We looked at how existing social apps made them feel, and ironically causing them to feel more lonely, setting unrealistic physical standards and lifestyle, and encouraging feelings like FOMO. We designed Buddy intentionally to avoid all these negative impacts and really are focusing on how to enrich our users' lives and be of value, really, encouraging ultimately to connect in real life.
This is great. Whether it's misinformation with some social media apps or causing loneliness, facilitating cyberbullying, setting unrealistic physical standards, as you mentioned, FOMO, fear of missing out. These are all the negatives. And you hinted at this already, Claire. If you're open to sharing it, can you tell us about your personal reason for developing Buddy?
Sure. As a mother of two young boys who sadly suffer from phone addiction like most Gen Z and Gen A do, and after losing two friends to loss of mental and physical connection, I felt the strong responsibility to build something of impact. I'm lucky also to be working with a team that believe in creating a healthy and happier generation as much as I do. It's important for us at Buddy to be authentic too. There is so much, amazing technology being built, but the question is, do we need it or will it make my life better? It was on this premise that we've built Buddy on. Sometimes tech is built, with the right intentions, like look at social media. It was built for people to connect, but now we are suffering from a loneliness epidemic where people aren't connecting from it, and the average screen time has reached 8 hours a day with Gen Z. It's kind of crazy.
So we may be getting our fix digitally with that kind of screen time, which sounds like a lot. That's a third of your day. But we're missing out of the experiences IRL, as the kids would say, in real life. So how does Buddy work in the real world? And I understand you gamify these real world experiences.
We do. We understand that we had to also build a product that is interesting. It's not just about making a coat that keeps you warm. You might want to look nice in it. You might want it to be waterproof. We're very aware of. So we built Buddy with features that we felt would make it fun for the users, like integrating gamification, discovery of fourth spaces, all while not encouraging them to stay glued to their devices.
All right. So could you elaborate a bit more? Let's unpack some of that. So let's say I install Buddy on my mobile device. I've got some friends who do the same. Now what? We're out together experiencing an outdoor festival, some concert or something. How would we leverage the Buddy app?
Yeah, so you have your Buddy private network and you have your best buddies, but you also have a discovery page. It's actually being launched in 2 weeks where you can discover public spots based on interest. And that's not spots that Buddy puts in there. That's people on Buddy. So it's like community driven in real life places that you can discover based on where you are. We also have drop the spot count. So if you drop more spots, if you save more spots, we reward the user and make people know that you're being healthy so other users can see how you're using the app.
When we return on Tech It Out, we're going to spend a few more minutes with Claire from Buddy to learn all about the Buddy app and what makes it unique. We've heard already that it puts a lot more emphasis on in real life interactions with your friends, and the phone simply facilitates those connections. But when we return, I want to ask Claire about how this works even without a cellular or Wi-Fi connection. I'm a bit intrigued by that. So we're going to hear that side of it when we return. In fact, they tested this in the jungles of Costa Rica, apparently. So we're going to hear how this works. A lot more Tech It Out coming right up after this short break. Stay with us.
Want to follow Mark? Google him. Mark with a C and Saltzman with a Z. Breaking down geek speak into street speak. This is Tech It Out. Tech It Out with technology columnist, author, and TV personality Mark Saltzman.
Welcome back to Tech It Out. We're chatting with Claire Wright. She's the CEO and co-founder of an app called Buddy. It's a download for iPhone users for now, but Android is coming soon. Now, you said something earlier that I was intrigued about. How can you stay connected through the Buddy app when you're out with your friends without Wi-Fi or cellular connectivity? How would that work exactly?
So you don't need any hardware. All you need is the Buddy app. We have something called first available network. So it will, depending on where you are, it will look for the best available network to be able to send your message. So it will look for cellular or Wi-Fi. And if that's not available, it will kick into our mesh. As long as you have someone with the Buddy app within 100 meters, if there's no connectivity, then that message will get to a user. So it's a very good app to use when you're in a crowd and connectivity gets congested.
All right, so sticking with my example of being at an outdoor festival, that's like 330 feet. That's a lot. So the idea is that if others are on the Buddy app as well, even if the cellular network is jammed because so many people are trying to use it and there's no Wi-Fi outside, you can still stay connected and agree to meet up somewhere, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and just to make it clear, it doesn't mean if I'm sending a message to you, Mark, that you have to be 100 meters. It just means that it will hop within that 100 meters and keep hopping. You could be 2 miles away. So as long as someone's within that distance, because there are devices, mesh devices, but they're like, glorified walkie-talkies because you do have to have a user. But the unique thing about Buddy is that we look for the best available network. And usually when you're at a festival, there will be some connectivity in certain areas.
And speaking of festivals, I understand you just put this to the test in the jungles of Costa Rica, if I'm not mistaken. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, we did. Super fun. So that was thousands of ravers in a jungle in Costa Rica, which actually had 0 cell service. So Buddy was really handy when you lose a friend and you're walking around trying to find out what stage they are at. So yeah, that was a super fun deployment for us.
Oh, wow. All right, Claire. And before I let you go, I had one more question tied to AI, obviously very hot right now. Is Buddy leveraging AI? And if so, how so?
Yes, Buddy is, of course, leveraging AI. So again, being a non-toxic environment app is really important to us. Moderation is key to making sure we manage that. We're actually using a company called GGWP to moderate all content, making sure it is toxic-free for our users. And we're also leveraging AI to recommend places to our users.
Awesome. And what's the starting age you'd recommend for using Buddy?
We are 17 plus on the App Store, but we've had a massive long wait list for users, 12 plus, so just stay tuned.
Okay. And where can we stay tuned? What's the best website to learn more? And should we just download Buddy from the App Store?
Yes, you can download Buddy on the App Store if you search Buddy's Friends for Real.
Buddy Friends for Real?
Yes.
And is there a website where we can learn more? Potential investors listening?
Absolutely. It's yourbuddyworld.com.
All right, yourbuddyworld.com. Our guest has been Claire Wright, CEO and co-founder for the new app. Thank you so much, Claire. It's really exciting to launch something like this, something different, something that is meant for good. Thank you again for your time.
Thanks for having me on, Mark.
What do you think of the Buddy app? I'll give you my handles on social media. I'm not on Buddy yet, but I'll spell my name and maybe you can find me on other platforms so you can share what you think. Or maybe you are using the Buddy app and you've got some feedback that I can pass on to Claire. So I'm on X, Instagram, Blue Sky, Threads, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, and LinkedIn. So pick your poison. It's Mark Saltzman, MarkSaltzman. So Mark with a C, Saltzman with a Z. And let me know if you got any tech questions, what you think of Tech It Out. Maybe you've got recommendations for upcoming guests or topics. You want to share some feedback on interviews this hour. So far, we just chatted with Buddy. And before that, Twitch, a company that partnered with NASA to broadcast a live 2-hour video stream that's interactive from the ISS. And coming up over the next couple of blocks, we're going to chat with ChargeFuze, a company that has these kiosks that let you rent power banks to charge up your phone, your earbuds, whatever you've got on you that needs a boost. If you prefer email opposed to social media, my website is marksaltzman.com. Again, MarkSaltzman.com. Before we continue on with the show, I wanted to give a quick shout out to SanDisk. Thank you for your support on Tech It Out. The new SanDisk Creator Series is a line of storage solutions designed specifically for content creators, the driving force behind the content that we consume online, from videos and blog posts to podcasts and social media updates. These external SanDisk SSDs and other flash-based products help to streamline the creative workflow from start to finish. There are 5 main features of the SanDisk Creator Series. Number 1, high speeds. Plug-and-play solutions that offer fast read and write speeds, ensuring smooth workflows and quick transfers of large files. Number 2, durability. These products are designed to withstand the rigors of on-the-go use, with features like drop protection and resistance to water and dust. Number 3, portability. This SanDisk series includes several portable SSDs and other flash drives, making it easy to take your storage with you wherever you go. Number 4, compatibility. These SanDisk products are designed to work with a range of devices, including smartphones, tablets, laptops, desktops, cameras, and more. And number 5, high capacity. There's no longer a trade-off between the durability of solid-state drives and capacity for those who need a lot of storage, as you can have it all, now with drives that can store several terabytes of data. More info is at sandisk.com/creator. That's sandisk.com/creator. If you weren't aware, SanDisk and what was its parent company, Western Digital, they split formally this week into 2 independent companies. Western Digital will focus more on hard drives, which have huge capacity, like 22, 24 terabyte drives. Great for long-term storage, but SanDisk is going to look more on solid-state drives like the ones I just talked about, which offer faster read and write speeds, lighter and more durable designs, quieter, requires less power, and the capacities are getting up there too, which is pretty cool. So you'll notice that I'm going to be chatting more about SanDisk, the official partner on Tech It Out, more than Western Digital, but always happy to answer your questions, of course. I plugged my social handles earlier and my website if you prefer to email me, but in case you didn't hear the news that Western Digital, or WD, and SanDisk have now separated into 2 independent companies. Cool. All right, so as promised, our final guest coming up on Tech It Out after this short break is with ChargeFuze. Have you ever been out somewhere at a restaurant, a casino, a concert, a sports venue, and you look at your phone and it's got like 10%, 8% battery life left? That's the worst feeling. So we're going to hear all about how ChargeFuze works. Stick with us. We're going to get to all of that when Tech It Out continues right after this.
Breaking down geek speak into street speak. Tech It Out, hosted by Mark Saltzman.
Welcome back, everyone. You're listening to Tech It Out. Have you ever run out to a hockey game or a basketball game or maybe a concert and realized that your smartphone's battery is waning? Well, you're not alone. Look around the venue, though, as you may see a ChargeFuze station, which lets you affordably rent a power bank, a backup battery, to juice up your device for a few minutes. To tell us all about ChargeFuze is the company behind them, Fuse Technology. We're joined by CEO Brandon Afari. Hi, Brandon. Good to chat with you.
Likewise, my pleasure.
All right, Brandon. So why don't we dive right in at a high level? What's Fuse all about?
So I'm glad you asked about what Fuse is about rather than just ChargeFuze. So Fuse Technology, what we do is we try to focus on bringing innovative and convenient solutions to the market with the concept of connectivity behind it. So we're all falling under the umbrella of IoT solutions, which is Internet of Things. So think device-to-device communication. Today, Fuse Technology, we have 2 brands out there. The first being ChargeFuze, which is what you referenced, and we also have AddFuse as well. But the thesis is connectivity and convenience.
All right. So I painted this scenario off the top where we always have our phone with us, of course, but we don't always remember to charge it up. And the more that these devices can do, these are like digital Swiss Army knives, right? The more of the impact on the battery. So next thing you know, you're glancing down at your phone at a Taylor Swift concert and you've got 13%. You're not going to be happy, especially if you want to record some snippets and share it on social media. So how does ChargeFuze work exactly? Maybe you can walk us through that.
Yeah, so the concept, if you think of how the city bike model works, the concept of the sharing economy is very similar to ChargeFuze, except rather than it being a bike, it's a portable charger. Users in our network could essentially find and locate a charging station anywhere in the city. They could go to that kiosk, scan a QR code, out pops a portable charger. The charger has universal charging capability, so you can charge your phone, Android or iPhone on the go. And the beauty of it is you could actually return it to any station in the network. So we're creating this ecosystem of charging stations. So someone going to maybe crypto.com arena or Madison Square Garden can rent there and drop it off at the local bar in the respective city.
All right, so you don't have to return it to the same machine. I'm assuming there's an app that shows you where all your locations are.
Yes, that's correct. So it's an app, again, similar to City Bike or a scooter model. You can locate a station anywhere in the city.
What's the app that you would look for to download from the App Store or Google Play?
So the app itself is ChargeFuze, F-U-Z-E.
And that's one word. ChargeFuze is one word, right?
It's one word, exactly.
So look, I've seen these battery rental solutions. I was recently in Las Vegas for the Consumer Electronics Show. One model that I ran into was ChargeFuze, and then the other was another brand. So what would you say separates ChargeFuze from other rental kiosks like this?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say first and foremost, the concept itself, I mean, we have best in class technology. That's what we pride ourselves in. Our engineers are some of the best engineers in the United States and also internationally. So we really focus on building the best charging utility. But around that as well, I'd say that, where we are a differentiator is the fact that the locations of venues that we're in are pretty vast, right? Especially with this concept. You want to use a service in which you could actually return it. You actually have a network behind you. So as a company, we power, as an example, over 70% of every major sports team. We have thousands of locations across, 40 states. So really, it's the fact that we have this strong network of prime venues and also just venues in general to really establish a proper network. But beyond that as well, again, it's the fact that the tech itself on our side is the most superior. But really, it's just predicated on, our best-in-class technology and the fact that we do have this breadth and depth partners behind us.
Speaking of the best-in-class backup batteries or power banks, can you tell us a bit about them? You said it does have those common connectors built in, so I'm assuming micro USB for older Android devices, Lightning for older iPhones, and then USB-C for modern-day iPhones and Android devices as well. Can you talk to us about, I don't care milliamp this, milliamp that, but how many times can you charge up a typical phone? At least once, or does it vary?
Yeah, so and to recap, you're completely right. We have Lightning, micro USB, and USB-C for all the charging functionality. Generally speaking, it depends on your phone type and also how long you're using it for, or while you're using it, or using it, intensely while you're charging it as well.
Yeah, true.
But you could get anywhere from, a charge and a half to maybe even 2 charges, depending on the phone you're using. And I say too, it's ironic because it's not even just the use case of phones either, right? We have people, using it at studio sets as an example for their cameras, right? So I think the applications, it's pretty fun to see that. Sometimes it goes beyond, right, just a phone itself. It could be, for AirPods, it could be for a camera as mentioned. So it's fun to see the use cases.
Cool. We are chatting with Brandon Afari. He is the Chief Executive Officer for a company called Fuse Technology. They're the folks behind the ChargeFuze. I call them kiosks. They're these like little machines that you would be able to rent a backup battery at a venue. You also said you have something called AdFuse. This is another revenue model for you. Is that right? That there are screens on these machines or these kiosks and you can rent the ad space to an advertiser. Is that fair?
Exactly. So all our stations are equipped with digital screens. The beauty in our concept of ChargeFuze and what we're doing is obviously we're leading with utility and amenity first, which is great. But on top of that, we give opportunities for big brands that are out there to really give hyper-targeted advertising to the right person at the right time. So again, think about people being in a compromised situation at a sporting event. Maybe a brand like Taco Bell or Burger King wants to target someone after that event. We're able to actually, again, capture that engagement at the right point in time for that right brand.
Could you also add branding to the power banks themselves, like a Taco Bell or KC Chiefs or 49ers, anything like that? Or because you can return it to a different kiosk, you might not want to do that?
Yeah, so we actually have 2 separate divisions to our business. We have one that's for events and activations. So think about the US Open, right? We work with, JP Morgan Chase and helping them being the charging provider of the event, and we're the underlying technology. So we do activations, right? And the activations, we have much more flexibility. Generally speaking, for permanent installations, the stations that are actually in the network themselves. We try to avoid, obviously, branding the batteries just because, again, you never know where it's going to end up. You don't want one brand ending up in another station at another venue that might not want that brand there. So, but we do have 2 sides to the business, 2 arms, right? Events and activations, and also our permanent installation side.
We're going to learn more about ChargeFuze when we return on Tech It Out. I've got a couple of questions I want to ask him. So stick with us. We'll be right back with more Tech It Out.
Follow Mark Saltzman on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. Listen to Tech It Out whenever you want.
A few more minutes left with Brandon Afari, CEO of Fuze Technology. They're the folks behind the ChargeFuze station, these kiosks that let you rent a power bank, a backup battery to juice up your smartphone for a few minutes when you're out and about. Out of curiosity, what percentage of people return it to a machine that's not at the one that they rented it from?
In terms of people returning to the same venue, and I say that because obviously we'll have more stations in a single venue, the same venue will see around 80% or so will return it within that venue. And then you have 20% that, again, take advantage of the ability to actually return it to another station in the city.
Mm-hmm. Or not at all. Which leads me to my next question. When I heard about the pricing for ChargeFuze, I was really impressed. It sounded really low from a consumer standpoint, which is awesome. So can you walk us through how much it costs to rent a battery from a ChargeFuze station? And then I guess it's by time. And then after a certain amount of time, if you keep it, what you're looking at there?
Yeah, no, great question. So the model itself, the way it works is we have, and it ranges depending on the venue type, but generally speaking, it's $2 for every 30 minutes. You get a full charge in about 50 minutes or so. So generally speaking, people spend anywhere from $2 to $4 to get a full charge. If you end up keeping the battery, you get capped at $40. At that point in time, it's not like we, again, just charge you and that's it. All our batteries actually have a USB-C port on the side, so you can actually recharge the battery at home. So in essence, it's like you bought a high quality all-in-one portable charger for $40, right?
Yeah, so that's not bad at all. Yeah, so it's $20 is the max that you're renting it for. Another 20 as, let's call it a penalty for not returning it all. That's not bad. I mean, maybe it's a little bit higher than you would pay for it at retail for the same milliamp, I'm sure, but it's convenient because it's at that location that you were at. And if you don't want to return it, it's only $40. Relatively speaking.
Exactly.
And before we wrap up, Brandon, what's next for Fuze Technology, the company, and your ChargeFuze stations?
Great questions. I'd say where we are right now, because our product has, in essence, it's applicable to every venue type, hospitals, restaurants, bars, casinos, you name it. We have a lot more to do, obviously, with general expansion. So we're really, doubling down in the U.S. market. We're also exploring opportunities internationally as well.
Beginning with what country?
We started in Canada already, actually, and we started in Europe as well. So we're hitting some marquee venues in UK and France and Germany. But really the focus is on the marquee for now, but we're expanding as we speak.
And what's the best place to learn more?
Yeah, so ChargeFuze specifically, you go to chargefuze.com. It'll really show you kind of what the company is about, what we're doing, especially in 2024. Everything is really on that website. And then also we have ad-fuse.com, which is launching this quarter. So people and brands that actually want to advertise on our platform can go there as well.
Brandon, great to chat with you. Thanks so much for carving out some time. Congratulations on already the success of ChargeFuze. Good to talk to you.
Appreciate it, Mark. Thanks for your time as well. Thanks for having me.
Let me know what you think about ChargeFuze or if you've used one of their kiosks before. I'm on all the big social media platforms. It's Mark Saltzman, Mark with the C, Saltzman with the Z. Also, if you do like Tech It Out, I would kindly ask you to leave a star review at your favorite podcast platform, be it Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Audible, Stitcher, and so on and so forth. It goes a long way to just click the star review or let me know what you think. Let me know what you think of the show. It's always evolving. I always try to find some cool guests and topics. And I think this week's show was no exception. So hope you enjoyed it. As I mentioned earlier in the program, I'm off to New York to attend an Amazon event, so I'll be sure to conduct an interview there and run that on the next show. And then on the evening of the 28th of February, I'm heading off to Barcelona. Never been to Spain before, but I've been invited to attend Mobile World Congress, or MWC for short. This is an annual tech show that, as the name suggests, focuses mostly on mobile technology, smartphones and tablets and accessories, and looking forward to going and seeing new phones and other innovations. So I will be sure to record some interviews there as well for Tech It Out. For this last minute of the show, I just want to give a shout out one more time to Visa. Thank you for your support on this weekly program. Visa has made significant investments in fraud prevention over the past several years, billions of dollars, all to support Visa's brand promise to protect the financial information of both individuals and businesses. Zero liability means peace of mind when you shop online or at retail using your Visa. There could be no half measures when it comes to cybersecurity. And that's why the company takes an aggressive and multi-layered approach to combating the rising threat of malicious software and other threats by well-funded and global criminal enterprises. Read more about Visa and how securing the world's payments is priority one at visa.com/security. That's visa.com/security. We also had a guest on from Visa about a month ago to talk about romance scams leading up to Valentine's Day. And boy, did that strike a chord with listeners. I received a flood of messages from across the country telling me their stories about catfishing or someone they know who was duped into paying these cyber criminals, really disgusting people out there that are doing this to you. So I'm glad that the show, at the very least, can help raise awareness. Hey, have a great rest of your day, everyone, and I look forward to catching up with you next weekend for another brand new episode of Tech It Out. Bye-bye for now.